Hello everybody. Now if you follow me on Google+, then you'll know that like 2 weeks ago or so, I picked up a Sega Genesis 16-bit and a PS2 for like 25 bucks each. The Genesis came with some games, and it's really interesting playing some vintage stuff. Once I was on this topic, my mind wouldn't stop. You could say it was a brain crack idea. And then I started thinking about competitive gaming. Now Jonathan and I, with a group of our friends, are probably going to get together and do a gaming marathon, but then I thought about that scaled up. Now I've heard that you play League of Legends in giant domes of players, but I'd never actually really looked into it until I decided to teach you guys about the world of competitive gaming. If you guys have ever seen one, a competitive gaming arena is really cool. Now a lone player dishing it out in his room or in his parents' basement, wherever his game lounge might be, is great and fun, but it doesn't really match the scale of a competitive gaming competition. See, the floors of competitive gaming competitions just might be the best place to play, if you can get there. But these things are not small competitions, and they are not hobbies. This October 4th, the League of Legends competitive gaming competition was held in the Los Angeles Staples Center. Now, as opposed to a video game expo where the draw is manufacturers getting you hyped on the upcoming games, you know, like what they did for the PS4 and the Xbox One, gaming competition focuses on something more than that. You could even call it the soul of gaming. This is where games that are so good the gameplay is an art are explored to their full potential. You can call this the soul of gaming, as opposed to the skin of the game industry, which you might call the marketing of the next-gen system in games. But competitive game cons don't have to happen on this scale. Your local library, like mine, might host a Mario Kart gaming thing, and you fight in brackets and the #1 player gets a free book. Or they could actually be giant and held in huge warehouses, and actually covered by media companies solely dedicated to covering online gaming competitions. Maybe one of the best known ones is the Mega Gaming League, which hosts live tournaments with hundreds of players from around the world. They'll stream it live, or they record it and store it, or they'll stream it live on YouTube with game commentators making notes on the stats of who's playing, the battle formulas as seen from above. They kind of get a free camera in a player's perspective, so they can see whatever's going on without actually playing. Planet Side 2, DOTA, League of Legends, and the like, they're all streamed on these kind of channels. And it really brings gaming strategy to an art. Players in a team can watch it over and see what they did wrong, or lone players could study what worked for one team, what didn't work for another, and reenact that themselves, even leading to some famous plays going down in the history books. Gee, this is starting to sound a lot like an actual sport. So, is competitive gaming relatable to an actual sports competition? Well, if you go onto a floor of a gaming competition, you will see, much like if you were to enter a sports arena, hallways decked with sponsors. Maybe if you're talking NASCAR, you might have a Ford and Toyota booth, but if you're talking gaming, then you'll have an Electronic Arts and a Ubisoft booth. If you're talking sponsors, maybe basketball will have Coca-Cola. That's probably not right, because NASCAR is Coca-Cola, and I think, doesn't Pepsi have basketball? I don't actually know real sports. But Dr. Pepper is a giant sponsor of the online gaming competition, with Mountain Dew being, of course, a fan favorite for drinking when you play. And these booths are selling merchandise relatable to the game, the equivalent here is a sport, that you are watching or your team. And some people might say that these pro gamers who are gaming for a living are wasting their time. But it's just like a NASCAR driver. Your job, like a NASCAR driver, is to sit down, know your map, and come in first. Also die as few times as possible, but that's generally accepted. You don't really need to point that out in real sports, but in video games, this kind of stats, they matter. Don't die. Programmers are like athletes, pitting their skills against each other. But have you ever seen LeBron James save his squad by bringing in tank support? I think not. And like any other sport, there are teams behind the players. There are announcers who must have squad names and player stats memorized. Not to mention all of the mapping. Speaking of mapping, you have to have the camera guys who are following it with tracking shots, allowing in the replays the actual shots to be shown where your camera didn't like glitch behind a tree. And then there are the real players you're actually watching on your screen. It's an industry that provides merchandising and job opportunities. So could watching one of these things ever surpass playing one? Well, maybe. It takes a whole lot less effort to sit down and watch TV than it does to actually act out a play with your friends. Also, when you're sitting back watching a game, you can marvel at the texture packs that PlanetSide 2 added in, and the textures that you don't have time to think about because you're so busy shooting everything that moves. And we have like Battlefield, every tournament that you play with another online player is basically like an online gaming competition, with the last person left alive being the winner. There's more action in any of these competitions than in any real-life sport. But as opposed to other strategy thinking real-life games, it's way more interesting than a spelling bee or a chess competition. So for all of these reasons, watching and being a fan of a football league or watching and being a fan of a gaming competition are both valid forms of expressing your fandom, really. I understand I'm not trying to hate on any actual like physical sport fandoms, I'm just saying the nerds have a case. And so for all of these reasons, competitive online gaming should not be overlooked as an interesting experience for the players or as the viewers. Okay, so I will see you guys next week with my Project for Awesome video. If you guys don't know what Project for Awesome is, it's a way to give back to charities or to give to charities. And it's really important. If you're a nerd fighter, you already know about it. If you're not a nerd fighter, you should really look into it because it's a really important day for YouTube. It's P4A or Project for Awesome. Go ahead and look into that. In case you guys didn't know, I'm now also working, so that's why my videos might be a little bit sparse, but when you do get one, they will be amazing. Okay, I'll talk to you guys later. Bye! Lone players dueling it out in your room or in your parents' bathroom.